YouTube fam, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Jeff Rosado, and it's been quite some time since I posted content. I'm glad to be back doing so. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing to stay tuned for more upcoming videos. Today's video is a matchup between Faeries and Knights. It's been a while since I've looked over this footage, so I'm going to be very surprised at a few things happening in this game. So it looks like we're just shuffling it up. Haley is playing a air-water Faeries list. It's more centered around controlling the board state while using, Faeries to do a lot of interesting things. So some Faeries untap other minions, some Faeries tap your opponent's minions. There's some card draw, and of course, being the fact that it's an air and water deck, it has a lot of controlling cards. The Knights deck that I'm playing, I believe, is all four elements. However, I think it's more centered around earth and fire. So we're just trying to decide who's going to go first in this game. Looks like I'm on the play here. I'm going to start off with a step, which I believe is the best dual sight. Don't have a follow-up play, so it looks like I'm just going to pass the turn. Looks like Haley is going to play a lookout. So we're all going to be able to take a look at my hand and see which spells and sights I have. So revealing a training ground, so that's also a key sight for this deck. Revealing a royal bodyguard, king of the realm, and the round table. So it's quite an interesting hand that I have. Nothing too crazy, but at least I have a decent amount of pacing. It seems like a pretty balanced hand for the most part. We'll just see if it's good enough. Looks like Haley didn't have a follow-up play either. And now that's interesting. I'm actually surprised I drew a sight here because I feel as though my hand is pretty well equipped with what I need. Looks like I'm just gonna make a foot soldier token off that village. I'm gonna pass. Maybe I drew a sight thinking that I was gonna draw into my other dual sight I needed to facilitate my threshold. It's the only thing I can think of. So here Haley is going to play a lighthouse. Then hider sprites. So that is a neat combo to play with the lookout. Hider sprites has a Genesis ability. You name a card and your opponent can't cast that card until the following turn. So with lookout, you get to gather information on your opponent's hand and then use the hider sprites to declare a name. And I'm not really sure what she decided to call. I'm still prioritizing sights here, which is interesting. It is also interesting that she played hider sprites because I believe I don't have anything in my hand I can cast even on this turn. But I have a Gothic tower, so I'm able to cast a royal bodyguard here, which is pretty sweet. I feel as though maybe she declared the round table for the hider sprites. Again, not that it really matters that much. move my foot soldier to the side there. I think I really wanted to kind of trick her into using the hider sprites to attack my site, and that's probably why I opened up the village. You know, it's kind of interesting doing the commentary on this video. I recorded this video, I want to say sometime in December maybe. It might have even been longer than that, but I haven't reviewed this footage. I remembered editing this video months ago, so being able to have an opportunity to do the commentary while forgetting what happens in the game seems pretty exciting to me because it's very refreshing. Like, I don't remember what happens, so I feel as though there's going to be a few plays that surprises me. So Haley's going to play a Babbling Brook here. It's very interesting too because Babbling Brook disables all nearby minions due to its Genesis ability, which means that she can't attack with the hider sprites this turn. Normally you would want to attack and then play the Babbling Brook, so in that way you're not preventing your minions from declaring attacks. But it looks like she's trying to prioritize casting spells. So she plays a 4 Waters of Paradise, but doesn't spend it right away, which is very interesting. I guess she's trying to prepare for next turn, and I guess the Babbling Brook makes sense because she wants to, I guess, prevent me from doing any sort of damage. Okay, so here I have Lighthouse, which is what I needed to facilitate all of my threshold. Having this step in Lighthouse means that I have one of each threshold, and then of course the Village and Gothic Tower just help that. So here I play the Round Table. So it looks like I'm pretty set. All I need to do is just start drawing knights and then just start playing them as quickly as I can. So if I'm able to do that, and then if I'm also able to play the King of the Realm in my hand, I could have a very strong end game. So far it's looking pretty good for me. Haley is going to play a Gothic Tower. So this is a very scary point of the game because she has quite a lot of mana, and with the 4 Waters of Paradise, she can essentially accelerate into any card in her deck. And I can think of a few cards in her deck that are very good in this situation. Most of them being Sealy Court or Unsealy Court. Those cards are just super powerful and game warping if your opponent doesn't have an answer for them. Okay, so she's finally going to use the hider sprites to attack my village, and I imagine I use Royal Bodyguard to defend. Wait, and then she's gonna play... Oh, you know what happened there? She moved the hider sprites, so she actually didn't attack. Oh, that's actually very smart. See, because her moving and not attacking means that I'm not able to defend, but now she played a very powerful card, a Midsummer Night's Dream. This disables all mortals at the affected sites, and then each one is going to give the hider sprites a buff. Wow. Yeah, that was actually a pretty smart play. If she would have attacked, obviously that wouldn't have been the smartest decision because I could have just defended and killed the hider sprites. But her moving there was just so brilliant. That Midsummer Night's Dream is in a very good spot too. I really wanted to summon my minions at those locations. So placing that there was very brilliant. Now my only hope is to try and kill the hider sprites, because if that's the only fairy at that location, and if I manage to kill it, the Midsummer Night's Dream will actually dispel, and that'll free up my mortals. But here, wow, she just accelerated into an extremely powerful game here. She played Sylvan Splendor and Unseelie Court. And because Unseelie Court was cast at one of the site's locations that Sylvan Splendor is on, she was able to trigger it and draw an additional card. Attacking with the hider sprites, dishing out 4 damage. That is quite powerful. Let's see, I'm not in a good state at all. At first, I thought I was having a good setup, but that Midsummer Night's Dream is just going to paralyze me for quite a few turns, I imagine. And then her having the Unseelie Court with Sylvan Splendor is just a lot of value. And it doesn't help for the fact that she's playing Sorcerer on top of that. So if she gets to a point where she doesn't need to play sites, she can just start drawing spells off the Sorcerer as well. I imagine that I used the Mirror Realm here to copy Tournament Grounds. At least that way I can have a chance at casting my knights at a very good location, actually. Here I'm just counting up my mana. And then of course Templar, if it helps with casting a knight, definitely pay off. But the position is the most complicated part, because I really wanted something to defend against the Unseelie Court. However, it really isn't much of a good position. Oh man. It looks like I play a Sir Priamus, triggering the round table, allowing me to draw a card. But I wonder why I did that, because for me that doesn't seem like a very good strategy at all, because it's summoned disabled because of the aura that she has. And Unseelie Court's going to trigger, so now we would both have to discard 2 spells. It looks like I discarded a Knight and a Vengeful Heir. He discarded what looks like a few fairies. I only see the Sugar Plum Pixies there. You know what? This is very technical, because if I summon the Sir Priamus at the Lighthouse, and if I use it to attempt to defend, I feel as though the defend wouldn't even go through, because by the time I move it into a Midsummer Night's Dreams like section, I guess if you want to call it, it would just be disabled, and I wouldn't really be able to do much. This is just a terrible position for me. A Midsummer Night's Dream is just extremely powerful against mortals, and she placed it at probably the best location possible. So she played his Slain Pixies, drew another spell, and this is where things are just going to get out of hand. The Unseelie Court, if she keeps playing fairies, she's basically going to have us discard our entire hand at some point. And with Sorcerer and Sylvan Splendor, she's just going to have so much card advantage to recover from it, to the point where it doesn't even matter if she discards spells, because she has so many ways to just replenish her hand. And then this is just terrible. She attacks with the Unseelie Court, and because it stops at the location where a Midsummer Night's Dream is, my mortals are going to buff it up, thus giving it +3 power. Honestly, it's pretty safe to say that I completely lost this game. Even summoning King of the Realm really doesn't matter. So at the beginning of the turn, Unseelie Court is going to activate. And it looks like we're each going to have to discard 3 spells. It looks like I don't even have any spells to discard at this point. So now she can draw for turn. She can even use Sorcerer to draw an additional spell. Looks like she just doesn't want me to get any closer with my sights, so it just makes sense to play that sight there. Honestly, it didn't even matter if she drew spells. She just has far too much power here, putting me on death's door with the Unseelie Court, practically smothering me with all of these fairies. So this is basically my final chance. Whatever this spell is, it has to be able to get rid of all those fairies there, so I'm able to dispel a Midsummer Night's Dream and free my mortals from their shackles. However, it looks like I just drew a Firebolt. It's just not going to be enough for this board state. You can see that I'm really struggling trying to figure out what the best option is. There's not really much I can do here. Looks like King of the Realm is just going to at least deal some damage, boosting my confidence for a minor second. Start of the turn, Unseelie Court is going to activate, forcing me to just discard my hand. She doesn't have any cards in her hand. She will draw a spell for turn, and she plays a fairy to draw a card. She is going to use the Sling Pixies to shoot a projectile, and that is it for round 1.
Bonk.
Alright, back with round 2. That first round was, it was favored for Haley for sure. She just had everything perfect that game. She had a Midsummer Night's Dream that just shut down all of my mortals. She had plenty of fairies to power the Unseelie Court to destroy both of our hands. And on top of that, she had Sylvan Splendor and of course her Avatar Sorcerer to just replenish her hand and just gain an absurd amount of card advantage. It probably didn't help that I drew so many sights at the beginning of that game, but I guess at the moment I felt like it was my best case. So hopefully I'm going to try and learn from my mistake here and just try to take a better hand, hopefully a more aggressive hand, so I can start playing as many knights, sirs, or dames as possible, and then just try to be as aggressive as I can and dish out as much damage as I can. Haley has gotten better with playing this Faeries deck. You know, at first when she was playing, it did take her a while to kind of understand how the deck was supposed to be played. And I feel as though the best way to play Faeries is certainly to play it in a controlled shell. Of course, there's other ways to play Faeries, but when you're able to control the board state, control both players' hands, and at the same time have card advantage, it's literally the best of all worlds there. Oh man. So I played a village, making a soldier. she played the color out of space and a Philosopher's Stone? Come on. That's the best startup you can have in any game. Fixing your threshold off your first sight, and then now with Philosopher's Stone, she's able to have all her elements at least cost one less every turn. Oh man, that is very impressive. Okay, so looks like I have a step here. I also have an Aquamarine Core. Not too bad of a startup. All I really need is just Air Threshold. Okay. I have 4 Waters of Paradise. Doesn't look like I have anything to follow up, but that's alright. I feel as though if I can just draw into more threats, my 4 Waters will definitely accelerate that game plan. Okay, so she plays a Fae City. Also a really good card in Faeries. It's being able to tap a fairy just to shoot a projectile. That does seem really good. So, didn't really have much of a follow-up play, which is going to be really my only opportunity here to play as much as I can. So, play site here in the form of Annual Fair. And it looks like I played a Cerberus Younger. I'm able to attack with Foot Soldier, which is great. Taking the initiative on damage. We played a Babbling Brook, which is a little unfortunate. That's definitely going to slow me down and give her another turn to just build up whatever she can. Oh man, I'm kind of peeking at Haley's hand right now, and it just looks completely powerful. Looks like a Ring of Morrigan, self-same Simulacrum, and yeah, she's going to play the Ring of Morrigan. It's just a powerful artifact to play. It is kind of ridiculous. She has Ring of Morrigan and Philosopher's Stone with a turn 1 color out of space. Oh man, okay, so she's gonna lead up with a Lightning Bolt. And also use the Ring of Morrigan, which is just ridiculous. So with the Ring of Morrigan, she's going to kill the soldier token, gain 1 life, putting her back at 20, and then a Lightning Bolt is going to finish off the Sword of Cerberus Younger. Wow. See, I feel as though my Templar deck is taking quite the time to build up, and it looks like Haley is also taking time to build up, but with cards like Philosopher's Stone, Ring of Morrigan, I mean, she really doesn't have to do much to just control the board state. I mean, she literally just cast 1 spell, killed both of my minions, and put herself back at 20. That's just so much value, and that's why I really like this Faeries list. It just has so many excellent control cards, and essentially you can just 1-2 your opponent. It's just so good. Oh man, so she's going to play the Fairy Queen. Was considering using Ring of Morrigan, but doesn't have any targets. And she also has Sinkhole. Man, she just has too many powerful cards. Thankfully, we're both at 20, so it's not completely over. But she decided to destroy my step, which will put me back quite a lot. I do have Annual Fair, but being able to spend 1 mana just to facilitate a threshold, It's not really the greatest situation. Valley of Delight would have been a better site to have at this instance, because at least that way I could have had better threshold control. See here, I play a Tournament Grounds, so there could be a chance that I can play something with it. I think the most unfortunate thing is that Haley has just been somewhat forcing me into drawing more sites and not really focusing on drawing more spells. So here I move my Foot Soldier. Haley's just going to take her turn. Honestly, I shouldn't have even moved the Foot Soldier, because any spell that she casts this turn is just going to be enough to kill the Foot Soldier, because Ring of Morrigan is just an absolutely ridiculous card. So it looks like she's going to attack with the Fairy Queen. Thought at first that she was going to use it to shoot a projectile, but instead she's going to cast Self-Same, trigger Ring of Morrigan, kill my token, attempt to gain a life, and I imagine the Self-Same copied the Fairy Queen. So now she has two queens in play. And finally drawing some spells here. Hopefully it's not too late. I feel as though Haley is just too far ahead at this point. Oh, but this is nice. I have a Sir Morian. So he has a Genesis ability that makes 2 Foot Soldier tokens, and he has an ability that prevents projectiles from entering his sight. So let's see if that is enough. At least enough to buy me some time. I feel at this point I just need to somehow gain card advantage. It's really going to be the only thing that's going to save me in this instance. So Haley plays another Babbling Brook. So all minions will be disabled at nearby locations, which doesn't really affect anything at the moment. I believe she tried attacking the Sir Morian, but I decided to defend with the Foot Soldier. She was either attacking Sir Morian or my sights. Very unsure, but regardless, both attacks were defended. So I'm going to play a village, making a token. That token will be disabled this turn, which really doesn't matter because it doesn't have an ability and it has Summoning Sickness. So regardless, I couldn't do much with it. Here we go. I have a Royal Bodyguard, so at least that's something. Going to attack with Sir Morian. It looks like I'm stabilizing a little bit. See if I can keep up this momentum and just balance out the game as best as I can. Haley is going to draw a spell, which might spell disaster for me. she's going to move Sorcerer up, which might be a very bad thing for me. So she's going to cast Sealy Court. Because Sorcerer is closer to my Royal Bodyguard, the Ring of Morgan is going to dish out 1 damage. She's going to attack, I believe, the site, and I'm going to use the Royal Bodyguard to defend. But unfortunately, because of the Queen, Faeries don't take damage from 4 or more power minions. Now, also, she did forget to gain 1 life with the Ring of Morgan. I don't think that's going to be that severe. Looks like she's going to attack with her Queen. Looks like she just decided to attack the location of my avatar instead of the annual fair, which makes total sense. I'm gonna draw a spell finally. Okay, here we go. So I drew my Ring of Morgan. Hopefully I can take a bit more advantage with that. Oh, interesting. So the grapple shot will trigger the Ring of Morgan, dishing out 1 damage to the Queen, and then the grapple shot will allow my Templar to dish out the remainder 2 damage to the Queen, killing it. It's pretty sweet. I'm able to attack with the Foot Soldier token. Okay, looks like I'm just going to pass my turn. Keep the Sermorian untapped, because I guess there really isn't much I could do with the Sealy Court there. Speaking of which, it looks like we're each going to draw 2 spells because of Sealy Court, which might help me out, especially since I have Ring of Morgan. The more spells that I cast, the more damage I can deal, and the more life I can gain in this very terrible matchup. Oh man, adding more salt to the wound. Haley plays an unsealy Court, thus triggering Ring of Morgan, dishing out 1 damage to the Sermorian and gaining 1 life. And then why not use Sorcerer to just draw an additional spell. Oh man, I thought I was gonna have somewhat of a chance coming back when I drew Ring of Morgan, but now the board state has completely shifted in her favor. She has 2 very powerful minions. She has still a Queen on her field protecting her Faeries. Her mana and threshold is just right. And then on top of that, she has Philosopher's Stone and Ring of Morgan. She just has too many powerful spells in play right now. And even when drawing cards with the Sealy Court, I don't really foresee me having a good opportunity to get out of this situation. Awesome. Looks like I'm going to play a Yellow Knight. It will get a Lance token. Awesome. I'm going to play a Purple Knight, triggering Ring of Morgan again. And then it will also get a lance token. That's unfortunately all I have. Oh, forgot about my little soldier there. Doesn't look like I want to attack with him. It's probably best just to keep him untapped to defend. So now she's going to have both Sealy Courts active at this moment in time, but of course the best option is to have both players draw the amount of spells and then use Unsealy Court for both players to discard that amount of spells. The relevance is if I had no spells in my hand and Sealy Court allows us both, let's say, for example, we each drew 3 spells, Unsealy Court allows us to discard 3 spells, but now because of that, if I had no spells in my hand to begin with, I don't get to keep any of them. Essentially, this is sort of a pseudo mill ability because I'm essentially just discarding the top cards of my deck. That's one way to look at it. It does appear that I have at least another spell in my hand. So at least on my next turn, I might have kept something relevant here. And I guess Haley has a really decent hand. She's just trying to decide on what to discard. Always a tough choice when you're in this moment. Usually you just have to keep the most optimized spells you have. And of course you have to keep in mind on which spells you're able to cast in a turn. I imagine she's going to either keep a hand where she can cast all the cards in her hand this turn, or she's just going to keep as many powerful abilities as she can. So I'm kind of looking at her hand now. It looks like she has Ribble Bogart. It looks like 3 copies of Shrink and a few Sylvan Splendors. So it always makes sense to discard a copy, I suppose. And even after all of that, she still has her initial draw phase. I think the timing of Unsealy Court is fantastic for just the sheer fact that it activates before your draw phase. So even if both players manage to discard their hands with that ability, you're still always one-upping your opponent because you have your initial draw phase. It's also another reason why we both decided that Sorcerer is probably the best avatar for Faeries at the moment, simply because you're able to draw more cards. Here it looks like she's going to cast Shrink, also triggering Ring of Morgan. And then, yeah, Sylvan Splendor on top of that, triggering Ring of Morgan, getting rid of my Yellow Knight. She just has like the best setup here. She has Unsealy Court, which just destroys hands. She has Sorcerer on top of her initial draw phase with Sylvan Splendor to just recover after the Unsealy Court discards cards. And then she also has Philosopher's Stone and Ring of Morgan. And she's able to just cast her spells more efficiently while also guaranteeing that when she casts spells, she's able to dish out damage and gain life. There's just too much value here. Oh wow, she's even going to play Cast to Exile, shuffling my token into the deck, but unfortunately, since it can't legally go into my deck, it's just permanently exiled. Of course, she's going to activate Ring of Morgan, getting rid of my other knight, which spells disaster for me. Man. So her Sealy Court is also going to pick up both of the Lance tokens that my knights dropped. Then she's going to use her Queen to attack my avatar. Since it has Airborne, she can attack diagonally. And then, of course, the Unsealy Court is going to put me on Death's Door. So now Ring of Morgan can't even save me now because I can no longer gain life. Oh man, have a sinkhole, which doesn't really help. It would have helped earlier in the game. It looks like I'm gonna spend the mana to activate both of my annual fairs to fix my threshold. I have a Vengeful Heir here, which essentially will come and play as a copy of any of my dead minions here. Of course, is going to come and play as a copy of Sir Morian, which will trigger Ring of Morgan to at least deal damage, and then I'm able to make 2 tokens because of the Sir Morian's Genesis ability. Going to play a Knight here, triggering the Ring of Morgan. And it just was not enough to kill her queen. But regardless, I at least have a decent sized army. Although, this was quite the landslide of a game. I think that I'm certainly at a loss this game. Haley certainly destroyed me both rounds. I feel as though Knights need a little bit more support. And yeah, from here, I already know what's going to happen. She moved up her Sorcerer. Well, that's basically going to be it. She's going to cast a spell, triggering the Ring of Morgan, and finishing this game. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like or a comment. Stay tuned for more content, and as always, have an awesome week.